Hello! What you eat, rethinking our physical diet. Imagine walking into a doctor's office and leaving with a prescription for a better diet instead of medication. This isn't just a futuristic ideal. It's a glimpse of how we could address America's health crisis, where the vast majority of healthcare spending goes toward treating chronic illness that are largely preventable. As I mentioned in a post earlier, a happy, healthy life hinges on the careful curation of three essential diets. The first I'd like to discuss in more depth is what we eat. Everything about our cellular makeup, our longevity, energy levels, happiness, and resilience is influenced by what we choose to put on our plates. Yet, as a society, we're getting this so fundamentally wrong. Obesity and other markers of metabolic syndrome affect a significant portion of both adults and children, while much of the American diet is made up of processed foods, high in sugar, unhealthy fats, and sodium. This leaves us in a paradoxical state, overfed but undernourished. At the same time, the way we produce and consume food is depleting the planet, eroding our soil, accelerating climate change, and relying on unsustainable farming practices. To change this trajectory, we need to rethink our relationship with food, not just as a source of pleasure or convenience, but as a tool for building resilience, managing stress, and strengthening our immune systems. A very personal journey with food. Like many Americans, my relationship with food began at McDonald's. Growing up, I loved the comforting indulgence of burgers, fries, milkshakes, and ice cream. For me, this wasn't just as a consumer. I was also an employee. McDonald's became my chosen career. But those comforts came with consequences. During my many years at McDonald's, I often ate their food twice a day. While I avoided obesity, I carried a persistent chubbiness to this day, which is a constant reminder of how easily balance can slip away. This paradox is part of my story. As a former McDonald's executive, some might see irony or even hypocrisy in my advocacy for systemic changes to our food landscape. But dismissing my perspective as biased or uninformed because of my McDonald's background misses a crucial point. My time there gave me first-hand insight into the complexities of our food system and illuminated the urgent need for reform. Rather than weakening my viewpoint, my experience have uniquely positioned me to understand both sides, the undeniable appeal and convenience of fast food, and the troubling consequences when we prioritize short-term comfort over long-term health. Too many simple solutions to complicated problems are attractive, like blaming our health crisis solely on a particular company or specific food categories. But such thinking isn't helpful, nor has it led to any meaningful progress. As a capitalist, I believe the best solutions come from incentivizing positive change rather than relying exclusively on regulations. During my time at McDonald's, I met with and learned immensely from visionary doctors that have tirelessly tried to introduce a more preventative style of medicine. People like Dr. Dean Ornish, Dr. Mehmet Oz, and Dr. Mark Hyman, and many others. These healthcare leaders understood that meaningful improvements in public health required working constructively with all major industry players, not merely offering simplistic critiques. While I left McDonald's almost 20 years ago, the lessons learned from that experience have inspired me to help create new products and services that can help people live healthier lives across categories such as food, skincare, baby care, nails, supplements, and some others. Our healthcare crises today are deeply and inherently systemic. Every layer, politics, media, medicine, research, and economic incentives feeds into a model that profits from illness instead of thriving on health. Transforming this system requires collective action and innovative thinking. I still struggle to fully understand why Americans seem willing to pay so little for food and yet so much for medicine. Surely it makes more sense and offers a better quality of life to invest in flavorful, organic, locally produced, food free from additives, preservatives, and chemicals while reducing our healthcare expenditures. Wouldn't you agree? Raising 4 children added another layer of complexity to managing my diet. Convenience often overshadowed nutrition, and I cycled through various strategies, from Weight Watchers to following my wife's relentless commitments to healthy eating, a discipline I deeply admire. Over time, I've learned that better nutrition isn't about achieving perfection, but practicing awareness and intention. These experiences reflect a larger truth. Our food system prioritizes convenience and cost over health and sustainability. Addressing this imbalance demands a shift in how we think, act, and collaborate across sectors. The bigger problem with food. Our food landscape is dominated by processed, nutrient-deficient options, which leave many vulnerable to preventable chronic diseases. The vast majority of American adults have some form of metabolic syndrome, a cluster of conditions including high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and excess body fat that greatly increase the risk of chronic illness such as heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. These preventable diseases strain our healthcare system and contribute to why the US had one of the highest COVID-19 mortality rates among Western nations. Chronic diseases linked to poor diets are one of the biggest drivers of America's soaring healthcare costs, straining public resources and perpetuating a cycle of preventable suffering. Systemic change is a key to reversing this trajectory. Just as I had to rethink my own food choices, we as a society need leaders to challenge the status quo and advocate for policies that make nutritious options accessible and affordable. Imagine redirecting even a fraction of the billions spent on managing preventable illnesses toward education, infrastructure, and environmental initiatives. Transforming our food system isn't just about individual health. It's about creating a future where wellness, sustainability, and productivity are within everyone's reach. These systemic challenges demand a deeper look at not just what we eat, but the conditions that shape our food itself. Why you are what you eat isn't enough. This brings us to a deeper truth. The food we consume is only as nourishing as the systems that produce it. The old saying, you are what you eat, only scratches the surface. A more thoughtful perspective might be, you are what your food eats. This subtle shift reveals a profound truth about the interconnectedness of our food systems and our well-being. Take a grass-fed cow, for example. Its diet transforms omega-6 fatty acids into omega-3s, creating meat that supports anti-inflammatory responses in the body. A corn-fed cow, on the other hand, produces fats that contribute to inflammation. Even a head of lettuce tells a similar story. When grown in nutrient-rich soil and free of harmful chemicals, it can nourish us in ways its pesticide-treated counterpart cannot. But the deeper question is, what are we prioritizing when we produce and consume food? Modern agricultural systems often favor yield and efficiency over nutrient density and sustainability. As a result, we've created a food landscape that strips away essential nutrients while introducing chemicals and toxins that ripple through our bodies and ecosystems. Our choices affect more than just our health. Crops grown in depleted soils demand chemicals inputs that degrade water supplies and disrupt biodiversity. The fish we eat, increasingly contaminated with microplastics, reveal how deeply entwined our food and environmental systems are. The chain is unbroken. What we eat reflects the conditions in which it was grown or raised. Reimagining our relationship with food. What if, instead of viewing food as good or bad, we looked at them as part of a larger story? A story of soil health, animal welfare, and farming practices. By choosing organic produce, grass-fed meat, or responsibly sourced fish, we're participating in a system that prioritizes health, not just for us, but for the planet as a whole. It's less about finding the perfect meal and more about asking, what do my choices support? When we approach food this way, every bite becomes part of a bigger picture, one that nourishes not only our bodies, but also the systems we rely on to thrive. Practical solutions, balancing ideals with reality. While systemic change is essential, individual choices remain a powerful lever for transformation. By making thoughtful decisions about what we consume, we can influence both our health and the broader food systems we depend on. We're not striving for the ideal, we're striving for improvement. Most of us don't have the resources or the desire to grow all our food or hunt for wild game, but we can make more thoughtful choices. In my household, we prioritize whole, minimally processed foods. Tools like the environmental working groups Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 lists help us decide when to buy organic, ensuring we focus our resources where they matter most. For more actionable tips and trusted recommendations, explore the Food and Health Resources section that I have posted below. I also lean on Michael Pollan's timeless advice: eat food, not too much, mostly plants. When your diet is built around whole foods, apples, broccoli, chicken, salmon, you're already on the path to better health. Small changes, right, like reducing packaged foods or cooking more at home, can create meaningful improvements. Driving change through culture and policy. During my time as chairman of Chipotle, I saw firsthand how systemic challenges often stand in the way of aligning business practices with nutritional ideals. Perfect often becomes the enemy of good. The founder, Steve Ells, and I were eager to move towards using organic ingredients. But 22 years ago, the cost gap was staggering. Organics were 2 to 3 times more expensive than conventional options. At first, it seemed impossible to incorporate organic ingredients without significantly raising prices. Yet, instead of accepting defeat, we took a gradual, creative approach. By identifying ingredients like black beans, where the cost difference between organic and conventional options was relatively smaller, we introduced organic options incrementally. Initially, we incorporated a small amount of organic black beans into our supply, just enough to remain cost-effective and avoid disrupting operations. Within some period of time, Chipotle had transitioned to using nearly 100% organic black beans. This wasn't a compromise of values, but a meaningful first step to achieving them. Progress often begins with small intentional actions. The point is that we can't let what we can't do get in the way of what we can do. At another company where I served on the board for a long time, Pret A Manger, we always committed to organics when we can. Again, the point is direction, not perfection. The same principle applies to cultural shifts. Raising my children taught me how deeply ingrained convenience-driven norms, like mid-soccer game donuts, are in our daily lives. But just as we faced inorganic black beans at Chipotle, small shifts, such as schools and communities prioritizing fresh, healthy snacks, can ripple into larger transformations. These steps can improve public health and reduce healthcare costs and inspire a reimagination of what we can achieve. Change is possible, but it requires collective effort and leadership willing to challenge the status quo. Schools, parents, policymakers, and businesses all have a role to play in creating what culture that values health as much as taste. The role of leadership in food policy. Changes in agriculture and public health require bold leadership. It remains to be seen whether Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the Make America Healthy Again, MAHA movement will succeed. My perspective is to avoid the cynicism so common in today's climate and instead explore how you can support the spirit behind this broad movement. Rather than picking out one topic you disagree with based on what you hear in the media, try supporting the broader agenda. After all, who can genuinely disagree with the goal of making America healthy? Sign up and get engaged. Explore whether you align with the MAHA platform, and if so, join and contribute as much as you can to help us succeed in this critical transformation. It will take all of us. Personally, I am enthusiastic about the many people now entering important leadership positions in and around American health, such as Dr. Mehmet Oz leading CMS, Dr. Bhattacharya leading NIH, and many others. And for the record, I really agree with any one person 100%. That includes myself. But it will take a collection of strong leaders to change the course of our very troubling health trajectory. The MAHA movement is advocating for 4 things: a comprehensive national strategy to combat the chronic disease epidemic, championing regenerative agriculture as a solution to America's health and environmental challenges, increased transparency and accountability in government, particularly around the funding of science, and eliminating harmful chemicals and toxins from Americans' food and water supply. These measures aim to combat the chronic diseases driving America's healthcare crisis while promoting healthier eating habits across communities. Achieving these goals will require navigating significant political and industry resistance, but with collective advocacy and public support, they could serve as a catalyst for change. The choices we make around food ripple far beyond our plates. They influence not only our health, but also the well-being of communities and the resilience of our planet. The opportunity to transform these systems starts with small intentional steps, but it doesn't end there. What if every meal was a statement of care for our bodies, our families, and the world we share? By reimagining food as a force for connection and change, we can move toward a future where health and sustainability are within everyone's reach. Let's make food not just a necessity, but a catalyst for the thriving lives we all share. I have listed a bunch of my favorite food resources that you can read and click on links, and particularly a podcast that Dr. Mark Hyman recently made with Barry Weiss, which I think is a great summary of all of this. And lastly, a special mention is my wife, Dr. Jessica Lederhausen, the most passionate and disciplined advocate for healthy habits I know, who recently wrote a book, Oral, the Swedish-inspired secret to full body health starting in your mouth. As a dentist, she empowers readers to take control of their health, beginning with their mouths. The book is filled with simple practical tips for taking small steps towards a healthier life. And buying the book will mean a happier wife for me. And as they say, a happier life. You can find the book and other useful resources on her website, which I've linked to, and also go to Amazon and just search Oral by Dr. Lederhausen. Each of these resources represent a step towards a healthier, more sustainable future. By integrating them into your daily life, you're not just improving your own well-being, you're helping to reshape the systems that sustain us all. Let's make every choice count. So what do you think? How can food become a transformative force for health, communities, for the planet? What role should leadership, policy, or individual action play in creating this future? What small steps have you taken or seen others to take to create healthier habits? How can we build momentum for these efforts on a larger scale? Please share your thoughts as usual, engage. Let's do this together. It could have a meaningful impact on our lives, our planet, and our economy, because healthcare is today pushing 20% of GDP. It's the largest economy in our income statement, and it shouldn't be. So let's change that. See ya.